everybody. And all of you can read them, and of course you can watch them on CTN. Now I'm going to introduce Representative Gary Holder Winfield, who has been an important participant in the call to action since the beginning, June 2011, and Gary's going to make a few remarks from the policymaker's perspective. Gary.
Good morning. I guess I'm supposed to be the policymaker, but I think some of the people in the room know that I'm still struggling leaving activism and organizing and being a policymaker. So let me just talk very quickly about how I think about all of the stuff that we've been talking about for the last year and a half or so. And I guess I will start off with the commonality that I and the congressman share. We both just lost our mothers. I lost mine in June of this year. And I've been telling people recently that in the moment of her death, I realized something that I just didn't realize, and that was my connection to my mother. I realized the connection in a way that I hadn't. I thought of myself as an independent person doing my own thing, and I had a mother, but I wasn't connected, and I didn't need my mother in the way that I thought other people needed their mothers. But in the moment of her death, when I saw that it was the end of her life, I recognized the connection I had. And when I started thinking about that connection, I started thinking about what that connection meant and what it meant for my mother to have had the experiences that she had in life and how those experiences connected to my life and how before I was even born, the history of my life was being written. And I know that the Maya Wiley and the Center for Social Inclusion talk about what is systemic. And I know that that is part of what underlies the conversation we have been having. And so for me, this conversation is really one that has to focus on those things which are systemic if we're ever going to really make a change. We can get up and have action, but if we're having action without understanding what is systemic, we're never really going to be talking about moving towards equity. We'll be having the conversations we've been having in this country for a long time about diversity without equity, about bringing people to a table, but it really doesn't matter that they're at that table. And so I guess putting on my policymaker hat, I think it's a good thing that I come with this perspective. And that's what I guess I want to say. I see young people in this room. I see Janice. I see people who've been active. And years ago when I was in activism, my thought was that people in government suck. And so I have to exist. No, seriously. So I have to exist to push them to do things that they won't do. But at a certain point, I recognize that those people who are in government don't have to be the people who are in government. And so I guess I would say to you, sure, we've done some great policy. Sure, we'll continue to do good policy. But until the people in government really get the big picture, which means that the people in government should be people like myself, Janice, the young people sitting here who have lived through this, who understand what it means to have these systemic things in place, and who look at it through that perspective, it really doesn't matter. So my call to people to be active is to maybe not sit on the outside saying what is, but to get inside and change it. Janice talked about how realistic we have to be. I think sometimes we don't need to be all that realistic. We need to be people who believe in things that we didn't believe in, believe that things are possible. And I came to a point in my life where I believe that maybe as an individual I can't change everything, but I'm sure going to try. And I think if we get young people, people who've been outside of the system to start believing that and to get inside and start pushing from the inside, then you can have different conversations. Because eventually this conversation is going to be a conversation that in the minds of many people like myself is an old conversation and it's going on. So what? I mean, that's just how it is, right? It just gets old after a while. But if you have people inside saying, it's not old, it's my life, I experienced that, then it continues. And it has real impact. So I don't have too much to reveal to you. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I just know the experiences I've had. And I know the connection I had to my mother. And I've come to realize that that connection is an important thing to understand. And I think we all understand the connections that we've had to people and what it means for us, particularly when it's pointed out to us that as much as we want to believe about our individual selves, and that's part of, I guess, what we believe in this country, we don't get to just be individuals. We do have a history that started before us. And if we're going to attack the issue of equity, we have to understand that and wrap it into what we do in terms of policy and our activism. So thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate those comments and our sympathy on the loss of your mother. A transition to lose a parent like that, but it also reminds us of the importance of looking at the past to help bring us to the present and into the future, and what was set up for us, the path that was laid for us, and the barriers in that path that we have to hurdle over, jump over, climb around, go under, all the ways we can get around and through. And now we're on to the main part of our program, so I'm absolutely delighted this morning to spend a couple minutes telling you about Maya Wiley, who's going to be presenting a very interesting program for us this morning. She's the founder and president of the Center for Social Inclusion. I wish I had invented that name. She's a civil rights attorney and policy advocate, and she's litigated, lobbied, and the U.S. Congress and developed programs to transform structural racism in the United States and in South Africa. Her varied expertise in the U.S. and internationally on the subject of race and poverty has made her a sought-after guest on national television news shows and in print media. She's won countless accolades and awards, including 20 leading black women social activists advocating change, and she's a much-published author. In May of this year, at the joint request of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, Congressman Larson brought Maya to present before the House Democratic Caucus, which is why she is here with us today, all of those connections putting her in this seat in Hartford. Her presentation that day was about how to communicate about issues that relate to race and the economy, and how to combat racial inequity and create opportunity for all Americans. She's a graduate of the Columbia School of Law and has a bachelor's in psychology from Dartmouth, a fabulous credential for somebody in this field, psychology. How does all this thinking work? And I want, once again, to thank Congressman John Larson, who has been detained this morning, for making this connection for us so we can all welcome Maya Wiley. Maya.
Thank you. That was a humbling I was thinking about the presidential debates last night and how the candidates work so hard to bring down expectation before the debate so that, they can shine no matter what happens at the debates. And so I think I need to take a lesson from that playbook, and now I have to reduce expectations a little bit. But thank you, Catherine, for that very warm introduction. And thank you all, because you all are actually here. I'm not here as the leader. You all are here as the leaders. And so I want to appreciate your leadership for all the work that I know you're leading in your own communities, in your own lives, and in Connecticut as a whole. And I also want to acknowledge some particular leaders, including Congressman Larson's office, and Eva in particular. Thank you, Eva. I was told that the congressman's staff was the most beautiful, and that included all his staff, and it's true. And I also want to thank as well Voices of Women of Color in particular, and Janice as an individual, and the Harriet Beecher Stowe Center, of course, and Catherine. So this is just an example of the kind of leadership we have in the room to solve problems that we all need to solve. So my piece is really hopefully just to instigate your additional leadership in solving the problems that communities across Connecticut are facing, and that I would argue are really national problems that are not unique to Connecticut. And I wanted to start because of Harriet Beecher Stowe. I thought it was appropriate to start with a quote from Harriet Beecher Stowe, one that I think is critically important today. What she said was, the past, the present, and the future are really one. They are today. Why is that such an important quote? Because it's true. Because we can't separate what we see today either as opportunity or as challenge, separate from the history that brought us to these opportunities or challenges. That we can't separate what we do today from what we will see tomorrow. That very much like Harriet Beecher Stowe, we are the authors of our collective future. And that means we have to both understand how we got to the good things we've got, how we got to the problems we have, and how we learn from that to figure out what more we need to do. And so, with that, I want to say a little bit about how we approach that from the Center for Social Inclusion, mostly so that you can get a sense of the framework that we use. And I'm going to ask Eva just to take us to the slides. I promised my children that I wouldn't PowerPoint you to death. I have, speaking of mothers, we've been talking a lot about mothers today, and I am a mother, and one of the really important things about being a mother is your kids, keep you in check. They really do. So they said, don't do it, Mommy, and I was like, all right, I won't. So you have them to thank. They're 11 and 8 and much smarter than I am. But so at the Center for Social Inclusion, we really see the relationship between three things to create solutions that work for everyone. And they are ideas, and we've already heard about policy being so important. What are the policy ideas that actually create more opportunity for all of us? Leadership is critical in this too, meaning we can't separate leaders from leading into those solutions, helping us identify them and leading them. And as I said when we opened, when I say leaders, I'm talking about all of us. I'm not only talking about elected officials, right? We are all leaders. We are all authors of our collective future. So that means we work directly with communities on the priorities that they have and what kinds of ideas that supports the solutions that they're trying to drive. And then we also, as Catherine said, we also talk about communications, which is how do we talk about race? So if you notice, when we talk about ourselves, we're the Center for Social Inclusion, and we're for solutions that work for everyone. Those are very race-neutral statements, because we believe that in the end, what we are trying to do is support prosperity for everyone, and everyone means everyone. But we also believe that in light of Harriet Beecher Stowe's "the past, the present, and the future are really one," that in this country, that means we also have to acknowledge that we are not all in the same position. That does not mean we're all doing okay, or that the solutions shouldn't be driven for everyone, but that in order to understand what produces prosperity and where we have challenges, we have to be looking at how we're different, not just how we're the same. And that means we have to do something that's very, very uncomfortable.